Phone in. Social media advertising.
And
Is that a wave? Is that a no? It's gonna be weird on a video. I'll do one of these ones again. G'day everyone. How you going? We've just had the command. Let's go racing. Excuse me while I just shamelessly plug this evening's activities. Share. Bear with me. Bear with me. Here we go. Link. Paste. Customize. Live, not Louvre. Here we go. Da-douche. G'day everyone, how you going? Long time no see, eh? Oh, dark clouds here in Mid-Ohio as we ride on board with Romain Grosjean. Sorry, I will be with you in just a second. Here we go. Right, got the chat all going. Just going to plug my phone in and then we'll settle in for a few hours. Okay. Oh. All done. Get myself comfortable. And it is important to get comfortable here because we're in for a bit of a long one. These IndyCar races, not too sure how many laps we're looking at here. Graham Rahal starting second. That's a phenomenal change of fortune for him in that wagon this year. Obviously, they've been the talk of the town at how shit they've been in 2023, if that is still the year. So he'll be pleased as punch. Starting P2 behind Colton Herta, the pole man. Unbelievable one-lap driver, Colton Herta. And already, is that it? Am I just playing devil's advocate, or is that just a little bit of moisture on the camera there? This could get super spicy, ladies and gentlemen. We could be in for a cracker, or it could be super boring. Only one way to find out, and that's to stay tuned here on the Screening Meals Twitch page. Apparently they'd rain in Indy next. Interesting. Does anyone know how Jamie got on? Tough track, actually. Pretty physical, this one. She said she was struggling with that in the past. Here we go. So the first three rows filled with Hondas, apparently. We're going to run through the grid. So it's Colton Herta on the pole, Graham Rahal, then Cole Kirkwood in third, Alex Palou championship leader in P4, ahead of Christian Lundgaard. Great result for him. Really pushing the limits of that car in P5 next to my hero, Scott Dixon, who will start sixth in the number 9 PNC Bank Honda. Man, they take their time with the IndyCar ones. Usually the Formula 1, Formula 2 things, they roll through them before I have a chance to say boo. But here we go. Row 4, that's going to be an all Penske row 4 of Will Power and Scott McLaughlin, followed up by an all-Swedish row of Marcus Ericsson and Rosenquist. Didn't catch the last one, flying through them now. Alexander Rossi, Romain Grosjean, Joseph Newgarden, Renus VK, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Marcus Armstrong, Elo Castroneves, Callum Ilott, Canapino, Stingray Rob, best name in motorsport, Benjamin Pedersen, Devlin D. Francesco, there's a tongue twister for you, Pato Award, he'll bring it up off the rear, and the number 5, Sansino Ferrucci, and then I believe that is Connor Daly from the rear. Storyline rapidly developing yesterday. If you weren't fully up to speed with it, Pagenaud had one of the world's largest ever shunts that I've ever seen. 7 times head over biscuit as he went through the kiddie litter, and subsequently ruled out for action today due to a concussion. So Connor Daly steps back in. No doubt he'll be looking to impress and cause as much financial damage to Ed Carpenter Racing as possible. As we're surely not too far away from green here now. Hope everyone enjoyed the Grand Prix as much as they could. I know I did. Da, 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 da. Pato Award getting a bit of a pep talk there from McLaren. Saw cracks in the Pato Award porcelain when we were in Detroit, having a bit of a frantic day. We'll put it that way and be kind. Starting off the rear today, hopefully he doesn't carry in the same frustration and cause himself the same embarrassment. As you see, slightly different nose cone on the Indy cars this weekend. They've got some kind of new rain deflection device, but that's as much as I know about it, so that's as much as I'll say about it. So here we go. They're all queuing up. Sorry I haven't really been able to sync, but they're all queuing up going into the last corner now, ready to take the green flag, as we cut to a photo of Brian Herder and Bobby Rahal from 1998, just as we're about to go green. That makes sense. Here we go. Jockeying around. And we're about to go green. Roll into the flag, 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 roll into the flag. Still roll into the flag. And off they go. That was a weird start. As they begin to merge like a zip as best they can down into the first corner. Come on. Keep it clean. Yes. Swing it. Swing it round the outside. Oh, and somebody's got airborne. It's one of the Ganassis. It's going to be Ericsson and Rosenquist. The two Swedes getting together as Armstrong seems to be navigating his way through the carnage quite nicely so far. And an early caution. And Rosenquist's not kept his engine going. Greenery in the cockpit, never a good sign of a positive day out when you're plucking weeds out of the car. And Ericsson also parked up. One of the championship protagonists, two in fact of the championship protagonists. If you, like me, are also gleefully living in the illusion that Pelot's not going to just run away with it. And look at Armstrong's handiwork here. Keeps it tidy around the outside, which he's not been known to do in the past. And then avoids the carnage. And looks to snap up, I believe, one of the Ed Carpenter Racing cars. So as we catch our breaths here at Road America. Not Road America. Fuck me. Mid-Ohio. Road America was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, how about the green machine round the outside? Lovely stuff. We've seen a couple of good outside moves from my colleagues this weekend, actually. One of note being old Clamogio going around the outside of Hadjar at T6 in Austria with a really nice move. And holy shit, that thing, it looked like Jaws, the way Ericsson just mounted Felix Rosenquist there. It looked like something out of National Geographic. As the AMR safety crew looks to get him back underway, but he will go a lap down as you see the field going through there now. That's my best impression of an IndyCar. Fuck me. You know, it's been a long weekend of doing too many streams when you just you know, unprompted break out into an impression of an IndyCar. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed the content over the weekend if you have been tuned in. Um, as per usual, carrying the brunt of the work on my two shoulders for the Empire. But to be fair, the other two have been busy. In fact, one of them is going to be busy over the next 76 laps here. Mid-Ohio. Now, they used to call Scott Dixon, my hero, Mr. Mid-Ohio, because he's won here so many times. And he's real handy here. So, yeah, hopefully lives up to his reputation. That's all I can really say on that one. As he's still sniffing around. I believe he's in the top 6 in the championship. But anyone who's not Palou, it's quite tight in the Silver Spoon battle. As we see Ericsson get going again, and that suspension, there's only one way to describe that, and it's fucked. But Rosenquist's going to come out smelling of roses. How about that? Although a lap down, will rejoin without damage. Unfortunately, can't say the same for Marcus Ericsson, his Chip Ganassi machine. Yeah, and you can see where, yep, that left front suspension as it comes back towards Earth just takes that hit, and that'll be all she wrote. They might fix that suspension, get him back out there for a little bit of testing mileage, but you'd have to have assumed that any chance of a result have now gone out the window. But hey, you never know, he could prove me wrong. Of course, Ericsson, with a similar incident going right up, going monster truck style, in Nashville, I believe last year or the year before, and won the thing, having had to go to the pits and get a new rear wing and all that shit. As you see him trundling it back now. Lap 4 of 80, by the way, now, folks. Looking at Ericsson bringing it into pit lane if you are trying to sync up. Do my best to try and give you those updates throughout the broadcast. And yeah, that car's looking all sorts of unhealthy as it finally returns back. And the number 8 crew will have a good look at it. See what they can't figure out. It'd be nice to get a running order, have to say. If there has been one thing I've criticised about IndyCar, it has been their timing and scoring display, and I'd quite like to see Ericsson get out of that wagon with the amount of smoke building up in cockpit. And there's a massive rubber stripe across Felix Rosenquist's hero screen, reminiscent of the Fig Newton's sponsorship on Ricky Bobby's NASCAR many moons ago. The sticker is dangerous and it is reckless, but I do love Fig Newtons. Anyone who hasn't seen the Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly film Talladega Nights, go have a quiet word to yourself, and confess to your parents that you have been living a lie of disappointments, and then do yourself a favor, sit yourself down and watch it, because it's an absolute banger, and you will understand jokes that have been made around you for the first time and realize that they're jokes from Talladega Nights, one of the greatest films to ever be produced. So how do they run? Still hard to figure out. I haven't had an update from IndyCar. I'm not going to say that. I saw a YouTube video of Marcus Ericsson, who's now sadly out of the race, taking his lovely wife Iris around the circuit in the pace car. IndyCar released a YouTube video of that just now, and it was an interesting watch. Go and form your own opinions. It was very funny. I'll leave it at that. But it was very funny. All right, so we see. So I believe Rosenquist's been in the pits, got a tear off ripped off the aero screen. So got rid of the old Fig Newton sponsorship. Man, that was funny. Or at least I found it funny. A lot of motorhomes on the left hand side there down the back straight. You don't get that in Formula One, for better or worse. I'm not too sure, but I know we talk about it a lot on Screaming Meals, but I do genuinely love the American approach to racing of the sort of motorhomes. Uh, Feels a bit more authentic than the Formula One circus, at least the IndyCar circus. It's as everyone's going to dive to pit. No, okay, no, we're getting restarted. Green flag, and Hurt is going to lead them away through turn one. Yes, that is turn one, so they'll finish in a different place to what they started. And a strange restart, it has to be said. Nowhere near double file, which is the norm in IndyCar. As we're finally going to get a look at a running order. And Armstrong's improved to P16. So up 2 spots, gaining those 2 freebies at the start. Must admit, I thought he was doing a little bit better than that, as we're going to get Newgarden sniffing all around the back of Alexander Rossi now. Thinks better of it through that roller coaster section. And he's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Audacious move for lap 6 of 80 from Joseph Newgarden. He's going to be keen to start making some early progress here, but that's not the way to do it. Evidently, as Armstrong getting sideways outside one of the final corners there across the stripe. Such a cool section, those last 3 corners. Like 2 corners in particular, really. Very much like the Rotorua kart circuit in New Zealand, for those most of you who will be familiar with that. So Armstrong with a little bit of breathing space now. I'm basically just going to comment on Armstrong's race and give you updates about what's happening at the front as we get a shot of Scott Dixon. I will pause for Dixon updates as well, who runs P6, right where he started. So yeah, Armstrong with just a little bit of breathing space behind him, but a little bit too much breathing space in front of him as well for my liking, to be perfectly honest. And it's a Hunter Ray in the P15 spot. So yeah, it's Castroneves behind him in the Maya Shank entry. Riding on board Graham Rahal, sitting P2. Like I said, he'll be far more pleased with that. I think he's from around these parts, you know. I think this might actually be his home track, excuse me. Went to college around here or something like that. Tall fella, Graham Rahal. Could have been any sort of typical American sports star, but went the way of motorsport, and what a good bastard. What a backbone. Still talking about this potential threat of rain here, which is easy to forget about when they don't give you any shots of the clouds like they do in the build-up. Sort of focused on the on-track action here as we see Ilott in the spot of bother between Stingray, Rob, and I believe that might be Pato O'Ward. Just sneaking by him over at the hairpin. Lap 8 of 80. And it's Ilott getting shown the way around the circuit by Stingray Rob there. He won't be pleased about that. He'll be keen to rectify that as soon as possible. But hats off to the aquatic mammal. I don't even know if a stingray's a mammal. I'm taking a guess, but it's probably not actually. Oh, maybe it is. Is a stingray a mammal? Can someone find out for me? Anyway, as we return to the front, we're getting a look at Pelot here. How does he run? He's running the P4. Steady, just exactly where he needs to be to keep up that championship momentum. Definitely not a mammal, apparently, now finding out. So that's fair enough. I think I'm getting it confused with a hippopotamus. McLaughlin. On lap 9 of 80 now, if you are trying to sync up. Maybe we could do a sort of animal segment on each stream going forward. Yeah, this restart was odd. Getting a second look at it there now. Yeah, they're meant to be double file, and that just simply wasn't. They could really get sideways out of. It's hard to explain what corner, but there's a corner that goes. It's towards the last bit of the track, and it just falls away and goes downhill on the exit. And you see some of the cars really getting sideways there, and you'll probably see a few loop it there over the course of the race. I'd imagine as the tyres start to fade away and fatigue sets in. So how are we looking? Armstrong still P16, 6 tenths off the arse of Ryan Hunter-Ray, taking the places. We see O'Ward making a move now. I think that might even be for P17. It is in fact for P17, so he'll be on the back of Armstrong shortly. Looking to have a lot of pace in that McLaren, making that crucial mistake in qualifying yesterday at the hairpin, and wasn't able to continue. Is there anything anyone would like to know about IndyCar? If you want to throw some of that at me in the chat. I'll do my best to answer it as correctly and seriously as I can, but I can't make any promises on that front, I'm afraid. I'll give you some time to think of some things. As we're here on lap 11 of 80 now. There are 2 tyre compounds, technically 3 with the greens that they have, which is their sort of environmentally friendly tyre that they like to use for special events. I don't know. It's one of the bees in my bonnet. I'm like, well, if it's possible for one event, it's better for the environment. Why don't you just do it for all of them? I don't understand, but I'm sure there are political and financial reasons involved. My favourite thing about IndyCar is that the cars are all the same, more or less, except for the Chevys versus Hondas. But I think that's not enough performance difference to actually make it, to ruin the show. How does scoring points work? Good question. And as someone who's actually been watching IndyCar since 2008, no, 2007, I've never figured out the points scoring in IndyCar. There's a lot. They give out heaps of them. It's kind of like going to driving an IndyCar is kind of like going to Oprah. Like you're guaranteed to get something under your seat. You're just not sure whether it's a yacht or a free book club membership. Basically they give away just heaps of points. As you see O'Ward with a fuckload of mid corner speed there, and he's going to slide past Armstrong. How is he? Fuck, man. It's so much grip, even in dirty air. Mad. Here on lap 12 of 80. Do all the ovals go the same way? Yes, I believe they all go left. Always turning left. Some of them, Pocono is a 3-cornered oval, if you can call it that. They don't race there this year. But so we're right on board with Pato O'Ward looking back at Marcus Armstrong. He runs a nice tight line out of that corner as we see them fall down the hill. That one I was talking about before where the grip falls away. Now hopefully he can just latch his front tow bar to the rear end of O'Ward and sort of follow his wake a little bit, as he seems to be cutting through the field like a sailing yacht's hull through waves. As we're seeing it getting a little bit saucy up the front. Marcus didn't do the Indy 500 because he didn't have a contract to answer one of the questions in the chat. Apparently the voice in the stream's not synced. Let me unplug my microphone and plug it back in to see if I can rectify that. But hopefully that's now fixed the problem. Fucking useless, eh? All right. 14 of 80 if you're syncing up. We're seeing the leaders go through turn one now, and an interview from Marcus Ericsson. I'll listen into that. Hopefully, seeing some reports of that issue being fixed. So, a happy accident, as my father best describes me. As we're going to get a look at the replay of the incident here. Yeah, you can really see Ericsson completely clambering over that machine. But anyway, let's return to the front. Not much happening actually as we're settling into this the early stage of the Mid-Ohio IndyCar race. Stream manager saying I've got 0 viewers, but there's plenty of people in the chat, so I'm going to pay no attention to that and keep talking away to myself like I usually do, audience or no audience. 15 of 80 now as they go through one. Still Herder from Rahal. Rahal really keeping Colton Herder honest here. And then Kirkwood doing a really, really solid job this year. Bringing it up in third, just 2.2 seconds back. And Lundgaard set it at the top of the show, doing an outstanding job in that Rahal machine this year. Today, for the first time in a long time, being outshone by one of his teammates, but you have to say he has been, really has been the James Blair of that team so far this year, carrying the load of his probably unappreciating colleagues. Yeah, let's go back to some questions about IndyCar because this race is getting boring. Why is Marcus sometimes in a blue car and sometimes in a green? I'm actually not sure. As far as I was aware, the plan was to be in the green car all year at the start of the year. And then, I don't know, plans changes, different contracts get amended and signed or whatever. I have no idea. But, and I don't think Marcus knows either. So it's very much a case of just do what you're told. From this weekend you're wearing green, that weekend you're wearing blue. Yeah, it was interesting actually when we were on the grid in Long Beach. Obviously, we were running the American Legion outfit, which is a great charity to support the veterans over in the States. And I wasn't really thinking about it. Stood next to the car, and somebody came up to me and said, "Thank you for supporting our veterans." And I was so confused as to why they were saying that to me. But the only thing I could think of doing was just smiled and said, "You're welcome." As if I served in the military. Later realizing that it was because I looked like a somewhat relevant member of a car with a veteran sponsor on it. So there you go. Colton Herter starting to feel a bit of drop off from the tyres. He's reporting back here now. 17 of 80 as they fly through turn one once more. And I wonder when the pit stop window is. I would have thought around about lap 20, around about now. And that threat of rain hasn't come to fruition so far, but yeah, still 63 laps left to go here. Oh, and here we go. It's Kirkwood having to get his elbows out with Alex Palou. Fends him off quite nicely, and here come Christian Lundgaard and Scott Dixon. The more these two squabble, the happier they'll be to see that. What is my favourite IndyCar track? Good question. My favourite event is the Indy 500. But outside of the Indy 500, it's definitely Long Beach. But favourite track? Road America looks pretty cool. they used to race at Watkins Glen, which is an awesome track. As we're seeing, O'Ward now first into the pit lane, if you don't count those early stoppers. So he's going to get rid of those red tyres. McLaren fans waving at him. I will give some thought to that favourite track of mine, but we're just going to watch to see how this stop pans out. And a long time on the fuel. Really long fuel stop. It might have just been me, but it seems to take a while over there at McLaren. As we're seeing Ilott getting through on Castroneves now. Getting through or holding, I don't know. So Armstrong re-inherits P16, subsequent of Pato O'Ward's pit stop. And it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the field react now. Obviously, the leader's staying out. Still no threat of a safety car. Not really too many people getting too close for comfort out there. I'm sure we will get one. We do usually here at Mid-Ohio. But a long way to go. And a lot of cars still left in this race, pleased to see. We've only lost Ericsson, and we have Rosenquist a lap down. They're in P26. But outside of that, 25 cars still are running. Dixon just stalking his prey there in the background. As once again, Palou and Kirkwood going at it. And Palou's going to have a good look around the outside this time and turns down Mr. Brown and spins Kirkwood around. And Dixon's going to have to get his elbows out and fend off McLaughlin here. And does so. Nicely recovered from the young man. Or he's not that young, actually. Brutal. Oh, I feel awful. I didn't mean it, Scott. You look very young and healthy and well. And you're a role model to hundreds of millions of people around the globe. But you know, spring chicken. As we ride on board with Kirkwood, who, I must say, got some pretty rude treatment from Palou. Let me know what you think of that move in the chat. Who's at fault? Was Kirkwood getting a bit rambunctious? Is that some moisture on the screen there? Was it over ambitious and overzealous from Kirkwood, or a bit rude from Palou? What do you think? James, how's the gym going? Haven't been in a couple of weeks, not gonna lie. All right, getting a replay of it here now. I feel like Palou squeezed him. And Dixon narrowly avoiding contact there. With a genius piece of driving. Couple of wheels on the grass. Threading the needle. Lovely stuff. I reckon he got squeezed. I mean, it's 6 2/3. There's not much in it. Maybe a racing incident, but I think my heart goes out to Kyle on that one. Palou forgetting the wise words of Fernando Alonso there. Quite funny. As we see, who's that firing it into the pits? Is that McLaughlin? No, it's whoever was right in front of Armstrong. Or someone was, anyway. Renus VK getting an update there now that it was who dove for the pit lane. So Armstrong finding himself in a bit of space, and I think it might be Newgarden who's behind. No, not Newgarden who's behind him. Who is that? Pedersen? In a blue car? I don't know. So Armstrong running 15th on the road, but has inherited a couple of free stops by courtesy of other people pitting. As it's Kirkwood now, who after that spin looks to really be struggling for pace and has become somewhat of a cork in a bottle here, which I've got absolutely no issue with. There's Grosjean with the DHL chariot. Staring at the back of this one. Not a great qualifying from him. He'll be disappointed with how that shaped out as we now see Kirkwood diving for the pits. He's had enough. Which unlocks Jack Harvey to have a crack. And Grosjean still in hot pursuit here on lap 22 of 80. If you are trying to ride on board. Armstrong with a bit of a turn of pace now. Really caught up to the back of this group, perhaps courtesy of Kyle Kirkwood staying out there on those rooted tyres. Interesting to see what may or may not come the way of Alex Palou as a result of that contact. We'll stay tuned on that front. So, probably getting around about to, I must have thought towards the end of the fuel window now for these guys, as we're at 1/4, a few laps past 1/4 race distance, just ticked over lap 23 of 80. Refer back to the chat here as Newgarden now comes to the lane, as does Ryan Hunter-Reay. Armstrong stays out, and here it's P12 on the road. I'm actually going to watch this because it's actually relevant for position. And it looks to be a clean enough stop for Ryan Hunter-Reay. That is a shame. Newgarden with a 5.7 second pit stop. So I assume that's because he came in early at the beginning when we got that early yellow, and just tops up on fuel. He was starting near the back anyway, so that decision paying off for him here on lap 23 now. No tyre warmers in IndyCar. They're straight out the gate on cold bags, so you can see them really sort of taking their time to nurse that new tyre into life and hit the road, so to speak. As we see Pedersen getting a bit lively with Jack Harvey, I believe it might be. Oh no, it's Connor Daly. And the number 60, obviously filling in for Simon Pagenaud, who put in his contender for Shunt of the Year yesterday, I believe it was. So now, without getting too excited, if you are just joining us, Armstrong running 10th on the road, but is yet to stop. Going really long on this first stint, but I mean, no longer than the leaders. At least this time he's actually following the strategy of the leaders, because that's what we didn't do last time, and it was, to paraphrase it in the Screaming Meals style, not grouse. How it all turned out. And you can see the cold tyres out of the pit lane for Grosjean. Just absolutely no bueno, and he's been completely pillaged there by a gaggle of various Indy cars. As we return now to a battle between Joseph Newgarden and Rossi, trying to go around the outside. He'll be shown the paint, but they're keeping it a lot friendlier than Palou and Kirkwood managed to do, as Kirkwood might fancy a bit of this action. Or is it DeFrancesco? No, it is Kirkwood, in fact, who didn't suffer too badly, really, all things considered, from that contact with Palou. Oh. Alrighty. 25 of 80. Armstrong now running 9th on the road. Nice bit of breathing space in front of him to Malukas. He'll be able to nurse those tyres a little bit more if he needs to. I'll give you an update on how they run once I believe everyone's come into the pits. Because at the moment, everyone running a very much split strategy. Some of the runners at the sharper end of the field electing to stop a lot earlier than those guys leading the race, and a few further back as well. Pretty much, as you can see them, the top 14 as they run are yet to stop. O'Ward obviously pioneering with that early pit stop. So we'll see how that pans out. Saying one more time around for Graham Rahal. So he's just about ready to shake off those tyres and get a top up of fuel, as Palou's still just right there, isn't he? like a hyena. This is a cool track. I'd actually love to drive this track. It looks very fun. And it looks like Colton Hurd is going to stay out. Indeed. Yes, they all stay out. I reckon Dixon should stop. Nope, but they all stay out. Top 5 on the road, all staying out. McLaughlin too. We're going to get at least one more circuit out of these characters. Is Armstrong. And here it's P8 as Malukas comes to the lane. So Marcus obviously staying out as well. Lee Diffie making the good point of Malukas' promising start, and rings true. Has driven well to date so far here today. All right, so Herder's going to come in on lap 27 of 80. Just getting the radio call here now. He'll fire it off and into the lane momentarily after this corner here. Flies through there. And he's going to send it. Now, how many people are going to follow suit? Not Rahal, not Pillow, not Lundgaard, not Dixon. So it's hammer down now for Graham Rahal and Alex Pillow. And Pillow's going to be pushing along saying, move, you big, tall bastard. Trying to overcut this mofo in the pit lane. Slick work there from the Andretti team. The Gamebridge outfit. As Herder peels away. Solid looking stop from the Andretti crew. Is it still Lundgaard from Dixon? And Pillow, all sorts of rapid on the back of Rahal here now as well. I've got a feeling that the overcut's going to be really quite good here. It's a hunch based on no historic data whatsoever. It's just what I can see with my own two eyes in front of me, I'm afraid. That's all you're relying on. And here comes Rahal to the lane. Again, Pillow staying out. Again, Lundgaard staying out. Again, Dixon staying out. So interesting here. Keep your eyes peeled, folks. It'll be interesting to see how he cycles out compared to Herder. That'll tell us a lot about the overcut-undercut aspect of this race and shape potentially quite a lot of the next 51 laps. As Herder rounds the final corner now, Graham Rahal on his way to the stripe. And he gets underway, and I feel on track he's going to be ahead. But Herder coming through with a full head of steam and hot tyres, and he's going to breeze past. That's going to be frustrating for Graham Rahal. And he's going to probably lose around about a second's worth of time here. He's going to hold up the progress of Pato O'Ward behind him, who I believe is a genuine P8 on the road, but stopped, like we said, really, really early, so slightly off sequence. But with the hot tyre, that's going to be nothing but a simple job for the Mexican. And Armstrong up to P5 behind his good mate Lundgaard. But as I covered off earlier on, don't get too excited about that because he's yet to stop. And no idea where he's going to cycle back out. We were running before all the stops started happening. I think we were running P17. So it will be interesting to see how we shape up after a pit stop. But staying out there for now. And Pillow and Lundgaard with a massive overcut. And Armstrong has surely now pitted. He has. As we see him plummet through the order. And is he back out ahead of DeFrancesco? If he is, that's a fucking great effort by the Ganassi boys to jump him from 17 to 12. I'm not going to get overly excited just yet because he's still got to come out on cold tyres and do the works, as we're seeing as Dixon comes in. Gets rid of the black tyres. Onto the reds he goes. And he'll cycle through. Slightly different looking livery on that car now. Looks a little bit cleaner. I like it. Power also peeling out. 7.5 and 7.4 second stops for Dixon and Power respectively. As they're going to come out now. Where do they shuffle through? Dixon is going to get up to P2, potentially. Unless Herder can snap him up on those warmer tyres, I think he's going to be able to. Down into T3. But it could be momentary. Is Dixon now on the stickier red tyre? Go on, Dixon. Lovely stuff from the Ganassi crew here. Moving Dixon from 6 to 3 and Armstrong from 16 to 12. And got him out in a bit of clear air as well, so we can really look after these red tyres that I presume he's got on now, as we see a bit of graining on the front right of Pato O'Ward as they fly over the crest. Just about to tick over onto lap 32 of 80. Now, if you are trying to sync up, thanks for joining me. It's been a long and lonely weekend, but plenty of great racing, and I'm glad to have been able to share some of it with you, Backbones. Here we go now. All right, so Power still holding strong. So he's got ahead of Christian Lundgaard, who is now in the 6th position. And Armstrong now up to P11. Possibly virtue of a stopper ahead of him. Which is stupendous news, to put it bluntly. P11 in the... you wouldn't believe it. Armstrong was P11 in the warm-up. And he runs P11 now, and car 11, his favourite fucking number in the world. 11, 11, 11, 11, 11. Motherfucker. I have to start calling him George Bush. We see Lundgaard getting a bit of a snap of an oversteer over the crest now. Dixon's won here 6 times, they're just saying on the announcement. I don't know how I don't know that off the top of my head, or how I've not got it tattooed on my ribcage. But yeah, Dixon 6 times a winner here at Mid-Ohio. Currently running P3. Dixon on the pod, hopefully not too far away. I asked him in LA, and he said, yeah, anytime. But he did that kind of like smile and say anytime, where you know that he's kind of internally thinking, please never ask me. But I've never been one to let my pride get in the way when it comes to Scott Dixon. I don't care how socially awkward or weird I come across. I love that man. As we see here. Where are we at? 33 of 80. Approaching the halfway point. Armstrong. And a lovely bit of real estate here. He's got a 6-second gap to Malukas ahead. So a really nice bit of clean air. And he's got a second behind to Di Francesco. So he'll just, obviously want to keep an eye on that gap anyway. But he can just sort of settle into a bit of a rhythm and a routine here. Because at the moment it's all going fairly well to plan. But this is IndyCar and this is Marcus Armstrong we're talking about. So we had to prepare for the worst. Apparently the plug going on there for the Gran Turismo movie. Didn't know that was happening. Sounds like something we'll probably be involved in. I like a bit of Gran Turismo. I grew up on Gran Turismo. I don't understand these Forza people with the Xboxes. a horrendous game. It's impossible to steer. Which, if you've ever driven a car, is not the case. You can steer them. That's what makes them so fun. So yeah, definitely Team Gran Turismo over Forza, and all this i racing crap. It's a bit overkill. I hate iRacing and those sorts of simulators. They're terrifying. You just spin all the time. Just keeping having a look at the chat here. Yeah, some more complaints about the on-screen graphics. They are horrendous. Some of the worst in sport, not the sport, as in motorsport, but some of the worst in sport. Um, Really hard to figure out what's going on. But I'll do my best to keep you as updated as I can on who I can only presume are your favourite drivers, because they're our favourite drivers. If there's any drivers you'd like to hear a bit more about, maybe that's something I could ask everyone. A bit of public opinion never hurt anyone, except the American political scheme. Um, More about Callum. Yeah, to be fair, I should do some more coverage on old Callum White. Mitch Evans is not an IndyCar driver as much as I would like to talk about him. Um, A bit more ILOT content. I haven't spoken to Callum in a little bit, but he's doing alright. Where's he running? If it takes this long, it's not good news. P19 behind Hunter Ray, which is where Armstrong was before the pit cycle. So 12-second gain from the Ganassi guys there. Much happier about that. We won't talk about what happened last time. So O'Ward doing a great job. I mean, he's recovered a lot of positions and not a lot of laps, but he is gonna, like I say, he is way off strategy compared to many others. So we saw him come on. Oh, when did we see him come in? Maybe about lap 17, lap 18. So it's been about 20 odd laps since he pitted, and he's on the black tyre now, I believe. So he should be able to squeeze out at least 5 or so more from this rubber. As Armstrong now about 5 seconds off the back of Malukas, so gained about a second since last time we checked in on that gap, and he's distanced himself from the nose cone of Devlin DeFrancesco. That's good news, folks. He's about 2.5 seconds up the road from him now. The 29 machine. So here's an as they run. I did promise you that. It's Pillow from Herder. Dixon, the world's greatest man ever to live ever in history. Then it's O'Ward in P4, Power P5, Lundgaard 6th, Rahal clinging on in P7. He'll be fucked off about that after running up in the top two all of the first stint. As we see a lock up from one of the McLarens here, and I lose the timing screen. Because apparently they can show the timing screen through the entirety of the broadcast, but not when we're seeing a replay or something. Where was I? Rahal. McLaughlin runs P8. Rossi, P9. Malukas rounding out your top 10. Then it's Marcus Armstrong and his home from home in P11. DeFrancesco runs 12th. Jack Harvey 13. Newgarden not made much progress so far to date, running in P14 there. Renus VK in 15th. Then we look down to 16th on the running order as we wait for IndyCar to update it. Kyle Kirkwood, who was running great at the start of the race before contact with Pillow, then Grosjean, Hunter Ray, and then a few other characters further back. But I can't be bothered trying to keep up with the IndyCar timing display. Marcus is apparently the fastest car on track, according to some strange radio app. Thank you, Sabine, for the update and all the hard work that you do behind the scenes that I have no idea about. Your backbone. Riding on board with Jack Harvey here. Mesmerising section of racetrack. Thunder Valley is what they call it. And that's something else that I just love about American motorsport. I started talking about it a little bit at the top of the broadcast. No, just no pretension. It's all about fun. Damn, it's all about just getting out there, having a tear up, and having a cold beer afterwards. You wouldn't get a name like Thunder Valley in FIA grade motorsport. It just wouldn't happen. Eau Rouge, sort of Parabolica, sexy names. Thunder Valley here in IndyCar. And I'm here for it. I think that's way cool. Here, looking now at Pelot, closing up the back on the lap. Start that again. Pelot closing up on the back of the lapped traffic. That is actually quite hard to say. Say that 5 times faster, do you? Pelot closing up on the lap. 40 of 80, half race distance here in Mid-Ohio. Thoughts on Cars 2? Don't know if I think is Cars 2 the one where they go around the world and Lewis Hamilton's in it? Because I've seen that one, and it's like the Piston Cup or something. Not the Piston Cup, like the crazy super Disney World Cup or some shit. Alonso's in it as well. Okay. Yeah, haven't really seen it. I've seen Cars 1, definitely. That's a great piece of cinema. And Cars 2, I guess, was fine. A lot of my friends' kids are really into Lightning McQueen. Yes, that's how old I am. My friends have kids. And I've got Marcus and Clem. As we see, Pelot still hasn't managed to get past Pedersen, who I can only presume is on new tyres. And Pelot's not going to be loving this because he's on the Reds, which obviously is the softer tyre of the two compounds if you are new to IndyCar with this, and if you are, welcome. This is going to be frustrating the Ganassi driver. Although, in the blink of an eye, and I hadn't even really noticed this. It hasn't registered with me. Pelot is now 8 seconds up the road in the lead. Pelot is now 8 seconds up the road in the lead. After only having the lead for a matter of about, 12 laps. Madness. He is so hooked up this year. It's crazy. I haven't seen a first half of an IndyCar season like this. Jeez. In a long time, if I have seen one. Franchetti put in some pretty stellar years, as has, of course, Dixon. But yeah, Pelot's really. He's fast, man. He's fucking fast. As we see Pelot with armfuls of understeer, still riding it out in P4. So, just hearing on the commentary on the actual television that Ward's kind of gambling it on a safety car strategy. So, he needs some pretty significant fuck ups to happen in this race if he's going to make it without having to make 2 more stops. So, it sounds like it's a 2-stop of the majority of the field, especially those who started on the blacks, it seems. As we see Ilott going through now for P. No, that he was overtaking a lapped car, I think. He still remains P19. Riding on board Lundgaard here now. as we rejoin the Americans. Lap 43 of 80 if you're looking to sync up. And the word sync rhymes with drink, which I'm going to go and have one of. As we see O'Ward stopping again now. So he's going to keep his hands glued together and keep on praying for that caution. Tyres on, fuel in, and off he goes. Now, so Armstrong inherits P10 on the road. And again, bearing in mind he's just inherited that from O'Ward, who's had to stop again. Sorry, I'm slumped here. My posture looks very unprofessional. Yeah, 3 seconds off the back of Malukas, so he's really closed that gap. Put a really solid stint in here, is actually his Armstrong, and I shouldn't sound so surprised by that, because he's doing a fantastic job this year. Never been prouder of him. But yeah, really solid stint. Now only 2.5 seconds off the back of Malukas. Closed that gap nicely. No mistakes, just drummed away. Found his rhythm, as I was mentioning earlier on. As we see, the greatest to ever do it in the wheel tracks of Colton Herta. Looking to make his move, but I think he's going to do it on strategy. I think if you look at the way Ganassi have been going, they're not making a lot of moves on track, but crikey, are they doing it in the pit stops if the first cycle's anything to go off. So Palou now 5.2 seconds out in the lead. Obviously doesn't need to push it too hard, but perhaps signs of Herta starting to make a bit of a comeback as far as pace. And actually important to note, indeed, that Palou is on the red tyre. Should have pointed that out earlier. And has been still stuck behind Pedersen. So now only 4.8 ahead. So I would suspect that Herta is on the black tyre. And Dixon is on the red as well. And keeping Herta very honest. So suggesting that maybe Dixon could have better pace on the red tyre than Palou. Which does all sorts of things to my mental state. None of them bad. Well, except for delusion. I don't know if delusion's any good for your mental health. I don't know. As we're seeing Ericsson still with the front tyres off the car. At least he's got out and away from the thing. Stopped barbecuing him. So that's good. But he's back in the wagon, and it looks like they're getting ready to go back out for a bit of testing. So Colton Herta is indeed on the black tyre. And I do just want to reconfirm that Dixon is on the reds. Because if he is, then he's doing an unbelievable job clinging onto the back of Colton Herta. They do call him Mr. Mid-Ohio. Palou really, you can see he's really, I think, pushing quite hard now to try and get by the back marker. As we see Rossi rotating his way around the last bend. Come on, Armstrong. Close up. Now about 1.3 seconds off the back of Malukas. Doing a fine old job this afternoon. Runs P10 on the road, net P11 if you are factoring in Pato O'Ward. And why wouldn't you? Apparently, Delulu is a thing. I don't know how I feel about that. It feels very far away from Queen's English. Um, I'm going to stick with delusion if that's fine by you. Um, oh, God. There's a lot of delusional people in the chat now spelling delusion incorrectly. As we're going to see O'Ward now starting to challenge the 55. Oh, my God. Making absolutely no mates out there with Alex Below is Ben Pedersen. He's slowing him up so much. As Below to the outside is finally Izzy. Isn't he? Is he? He is. He's going to get the move done. Below, who's been dominant in the year of 2023, has just taken 18 or so laps to get through a back marker. Absolutely hilarious stuff here. He will be so furious. As would anyone be. I mean, if the shoes were reversed, and I know that's not the correct expression, and it were Dixon behind Pedersen for that many laps, I would be in the middle of an aneurysm at the moment. I probably would have said a lot of things I regret, a lot of things I wouldn't have been able to take back, but a lot of things I probably would have stood by, because if I've said it before on this show and I'll say it again, if you hinder or threaten to hinder or damage or bring any kind of disrepute or discomfort to Scott Dixon, you're on my list and I will try to hurt you. Just let that be known. Armstrong, look, he needs a bit of tough love every now and then, but Scott Dixon is God. As we have an aerial view, God's view, of Scott Dixon. Going through the final corners here now. About to tick over onto lap 50 of 80, so 30 to go. Probably approaching another pit stop window pretty soon. An update on the list. I don't know if I should actually publicly publish, which I guess is the, I don't know, married up word. I'm not smart enough to know the word for that. Of public. I don't know if I need to air out the list, but it's a real thing, and you don't want to be on it. And there's definitely people on it. Oh! I know, we're just getting a replay of the exchange between Pedersen and Palou, and I thought for a second that Pedersen had sent it to the inside. But it was just a replay, but fuck me, how funny would that have been if he just went for the World Championship on lap 50 just to get his lap back. As Armstrong now only half a second off the back of Rossi, who's been overtaken by Malukas. So he's right on that train now. Let's hear it for the boy. Armstrong, actually with a fantastic. Hang on, what's last pit stop lap? Not the. I'd actually quite like a push to pass update. Armstrong, one of the last cars to pit. They're on lap 29 is when he last went in for a change. As we're going to see Rossi, who's immediately in front of Armstrong, now come to the lane. Which is positive for us because, like I said, the overcut looked really strong. And with Armstrong being one of the later stoppers, perhaps that's a sign of good things to come. But nothing comes for free. No such thing as a free and easy lunch here in IndyCar or indeed the world of motorsport. I'm starting to get a bit of a sniffle. Sorry about that. I'll try not to be too much like Clement Novalak, who, when he's ill, tries to make it known to the neighbours. If Clement Novalak is unwell, get the fuck away from him, because he's got absolutely no regard for what he excretes when he's poorly. I've never seen anything like it. For someone who's a bit of a clean freak, he's the most repulsive human being to be around when he's unwell. And it is Dixon on the red tyre. So he's held on to the coattails of Herta for this entire stint. And he's still here. Still backboning away. Up against Colton Herta. I laugh, but that, to be fair, and look, I know that you could make potentially an argument that I look at Scott Dixon through rose-tinted glasses sometimes. But that is an unbelievable stint on a red tyre to still be right on the guy who you were right behind at the start of the stint, who was on a black tyre. Because, I mean, I'm sure most of you are well versed enough to already know, but the softer tyre, he should be, down the road by now. Just goes to show you a bit of insight into the true genius that is Scott Dixon. Is Colton Herta getting a little bit... Not Colton Herta, my apologies. Kyle Kirkwood getting a little bit frisky. Oh, Pillow, but that does make sense because Pillow took him out at the start of the race. Somebody texting me about Silverstone tickets a week before the busiest event of the year. People. Ericsson with a 42.8 second pit stop there. So it sounds like he's back out and circulating as Pillow comes to the lane finally to get rid of those red tyres. Pillow in, Dixon in as well, gets those black tyres on. A little bit slow away from the mark from Alex Pillow there. Not sure what's going on there, but gets out fine and dandy. As Armstrong now inherits 6th on the road as he flies by his two teammates who have just come out of the pits. I'm stressed a bit now, to be honest. So this is it. This is the final stint. So I went to start fixing my hair, but then I caught it back on the camera there, and it's a complete shit show. Sorry about that. Oh god, it's all right. So all the wheels are falling off. I don't want to curse anything, but fuck. All right, what's going on? Herta comes to the pit lane from the lead. Now this is going to be key. Ish. Hearing it through on the live broadcast, that what we're watching for here is where Herta's going to come out in comparison to Scott Dixon as Armstrong's in. Come on, the 11 crew. As Dixon rounds the final two corners now, and Herta skates away from his pit box, and it looks like he's pulled a blinder here. And Dixon, this will be his last chance. He's got to really close up against Herta here now and try and get traction out of the final corner. Come on, Dixon. Tucked right up behind Colton Herta. They'll both be on the push to pass here now. Going down in towards turn 3, turn 4. Dixon's going to go to the outside. He's going to have to be careful here, but no, he's not. Under brakes. Gets the job done like an absolute backbone. It's Dixon. Through on Colton Herta. Let's go, Scotty D. 55 of 80. And Armstrong's recycled himself back out into P12, just behind Alexander Rossi now, who we're hoping to stay ahead of Connor Daly. I'm only looking at the timing here. I've got absolutely no more information than that, I'm afraid. Running P12. Still some characters ahead of him who may need to stop, but Ilot being one of those, yeah, up in the P9 there. Armstrong seeming to fend off Connor Daly, and I'm not sure if that's for position. I can't imagine it is, but and something's happened to Colton Herder. I'm gonna have to sneeze here. Hang on. No, apparently not. Great TV. All right, so Rahal, he's been in and now he's out. And Rahal's had some kind of issue as well, apparently. I don't. I'm a bit confused. I mean, shit, I'll take it. So Armstrong now 10th on the road, with O'Ward being somewhat of a wild card up there in P2. 6 seconds off the back end of Palou, who needs a caution to make it here. And at the moment, folks, it looks like Herder. It looks like Palou is going to do it again. I mean, I don't, you know, there's not even strategically, there's not even really that much that could happen now to hurt him. Um, and with the exception of the Indy 500, that's four in a row, I would believe. Yeah, and it's right. So Rahal, issue on the rear left, dropping him further down the order than he'd like to be. So he's now just a couple of spots up ahead of yours truly, Mr. Armstrong, as the guys on the wall are absolutely furious. So where are we? P10. Just a couple of seconds off the back of Rossi. Solid drive so far today for one Mr. Marcus Armstrong, who is on cloud nine. I can't reveal why, because it's not my life, and I'll let him share whatever he likes to. But he got a message from a celebrity today, and he's very, very pleased about it. I won't tell you any more than that. So 2 seconds, like we said, 2.1, 2.2 seconds off the back of Alexander Rossi as Herder makes, I was going to say makes the move on Daly, but no, it looks like he's just come in for a pit stop. So Armstrong holds off Herder to the tune of 1.2 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that because, I mean, Herder's been leading the race. He's been absolutely rapid. And Armstrong's had very good pace. He's done a fantastic job today. But does he have the car to remain ahead of Herder, who's been running up at the pointy end all day? But time will tell on that one as we ride back on board with Pato O'Ward. That rhymes. Going through the final section now. He's just going to be holding on to a wing and a prayer here, I think. So, like I said, gambled on a safety car strategy, which at Mid-Ohio is not a bad shout at all. But so far today hasn't happened for him. It's looking like he's walking away from the tables without his chips. As it looks right now, this could all change in about 5 seconds. So 2.2 seconds now, the margin between Armstrong and Herder. So that's positive. Really positive. But we're not going to count any chickens as it now drops to 2 seconds. um, all right, so Dixon, how's he tracking? He's 9.5 seconds back from Palou. So basically, something bad needs to happen to Palou for anyone else to win at the moment in IndyCar, it seems, because he's just unstoppable. Putting his hand up for an F1 seat, I'd go as far as saying. I mean, there's no one really, with the exception, obviously, of Max Verstappen, but that's, a lot of Adrian Newey's handiwork. And I'm not for a minute saying that Palou's performance is not directly correlated to the handiwork of the Chip Ganassi crew. But in world motorsport, I don't think there's a driver doing a better job in a one-make series than Alex Palou right now. I think he might just about be the hottest driver on the planet as far as form. I'm not doing my usual melting session of talking about racing drivers and how sexually attractive they are. No, I think Palou should be seriously on the radar of pretty much every single F1 team, given the IndyCar season he's putting together right now. There you go. That's my hot take for your Sunday afternoon. What do you think of that? How do you like them apples? Just checking the chat to see how you do actually like them apples. Somebody being surprised at how little recognition Palou has had in Spain. And yes, I can understand why that's the case, to be fair. Reason being, obviously they've got, Spain's got Alonso and Sainz, two massive names doing massive, big time shit. Uh, so it soaks up a lot of that adoration as far as the Spanish motor racing fan sponge goes, I should imagine. And we run it. Sometimes we do run into a similar problem in New Zealand, or Marcus has at least as well. Like if you were in New Zealand over the last at least 2 years, uh, you wouldn't have thought that Marcus existed, and Liam Lawson was the only New Zealand racing driver on the planet. So different countries have different sort of media exposure for different drivers. That's something we've kind of learned over the last couple of years, particularly. Um, and also looking at things like metrics through, tools that are provided by Instagram dashboards and things like that. You can find out where your popularity is as far as, geography and all sorts of other demographics, which we run from time to time. Um, so yeah, where was I going with that? Yeah, Palou's popularity in Spain. Yeah, I can understand why, because like, there's two massive sponges there to take up a lot of attention doing big things in Formula One. So I can understand the lack of recognition, but I'm here to recognise, if nothing else, um, on Screaming Meals, and I think that Palou needs to be front of the queue for an F1 seat next year, with the exception of Felipe Drugovich, who did this last year but in Formula 2 and still finds himself on the sidelines, reminiscent of Oscar Piastri, who obviously now, of course, has made it to Formula 1, as we all know. So hopefully something waiting for Drugovich next year, and I'm not leading on to anything, I genuinely know nothing. But also, yeah, like I said, Palou sticking his hand up, saying, put me in, coach. As he's now 11.4 up the road from Dixon, 7.3 to O'Ward, who as they run has to stop again. He almost needs like a red flag now, you'd have thought. You'd also think the longer he leaves this, the less he needs to give himself some time to make some moves. through the field. So do you wait? It's probably a little bit of a balancing act now between waving the white flag and going, this yellow's not coming, boys. I need some laps to make some positions back when we eventually stop. Or you're sticking your head in the sand and just praying that you get a yellow. Similar to what Armstrong did. And I say Armstrong. It was similar to what the number 11 car team and everyone in that team, it's a team effort, did at Road America, where we just went, fuck it, let's have the lead. I don't want to talk about it. I'm actually not. Someone at work actually tried to come over and talk to me about it on Monday last week or whenever it was, and I said I'd come back in a couple of days. Anyway, we've moved on. I would like to think so anyway. And here we are on lap 65 of 80. 15 to go. Your own Marcus Armstrong running in P10 right now as Pato finally gives up. He's going to come in for bugger all fuel and a new set of black tyres, and off he goes, rejoins the race. And is he going to... So he's going to get done by his teammate here of Rossi, and Armstrong's got to close up here. He's got to close up through this last corner and try and get him under braking. And he's just too far back to be able to get him under the brakes, I think, and be a real thorn in his side for the rest of the race. So it's Armstrong who looks like he's just going to stay P10. As Armstrong getting close up to the back of him. Someone texting me asking for all sorts of insider information, which I'm definitely not at liberty to give. Armstrong, yeah, we see him now on the back of O'Ward, but as soon as his tyres are up to temperature, it'll be tough. Armstrong going to give it a screen time here now on lap 66 of 80. It's been quite nice that we've had 66 laps of green flag running as far as time spent talking, but Armstrong's going to want to get O'Ward here. He knows he's on my list. What was I saying? I can't remember. But that's fine. Pelot now with 11.7 seconds out in front on lap 67 of 80. Armstrong, if I hear correctly, getting a bit of a rap from the NBC sports team. As Armstrong now dipping off the back a little bit, but might stand to gain something from the pace of Pato O'Ward potentially as he sizes up his own teammate in Alexander Rossi. The IndyCar commentators, and I mean the real ones, not the idiots like me, are very nice people. They're so nice about all the drivers. They're never mean like the F1 people. That shunt of Simon Pagenaud's was fucking massive. Fucking massive. Like, that's such a massive shunt. Massive. Did I mention that it was massive? Anyway. Daly, how's he doing? He's kept it pointing in a straight line, which is, to be honest, the main thing when you're jumping in as a last minute reserve as he is. It's a very difficult thing to do. So he runs P21, 69.7 seconds off the lead. And only 5 seconds off the back of the bloke who nicked his seat in Ryan Hunter-Ray in a car that was a complete stranger to him this morning. If that's not a fuck you to Ed Carpenter, I don't know what is. As we see O'Ward has made a move on Rossi. Now come on, Marcus. Make the most of the fucking momentum and snap him up. Get him done. And Peterson's back in the frame to be a pain in the ass all over again. Hate him or love him, it's great TV. Peterson just making absolutely no mates this afternoon. I said it before, I'll say it again. He's going to be the least popular man in the IndyCar drivers briefing next week, but the most popular man in the television briefing. I'll tell you that much for tuppence. And O'Ward now around Pedersen. And next up, it's going to have to be Rossi and Armstrong who have a crack at him. And Armstrong's got Rossi to the inside. Goes Meyer Ratchasima. Grouse. Well done. How good. Go get him. Woo. From 18th to 9th with 11 to go. Now, next up for Armstrong is going to be Pedersen. We're probably in with a shout at that biggest mover trophy as well. Again, but Armstrong putting a move on Rossi, and that's grouse. As here goes Herder doing exactly the same thing. Rossi just Isaac Newtoning his way through the field now. As he's going to have something to say about it with Herder, and he's going to try and stick it round the outside, and does so. That's a lovely piece of defensive driving from Alexander Rossi. And even nicer the fact that it's buffering that gap to Armstrong in front. What a backbone. So Armstrong with a bit of space to deal with Pedersen now, who, as we've been covering off throughout the afternoon, has made absolutely no friends out there. As we now, okay, the whole timing board just got a bit of a weird up and down shuffle, but I think it's now back to where it should be. Yeah. I know O'Ward will get the biggest mover, I think. Yeah, because he was further back. Oh well. This is a great effort from Marcus. This is actually really good. And again, I hate to sound surprised, but so often when it's going well, it just goes wrong. And there is 9 to go, so plenty of time for that. But as we approach 90% race distance, he can be very pleased with the effort that he's put in this afternoon. Great drive. Just riding on board here with Grosjean following Newgarden, who's made bugger all inroads this afternoon. Would have expected more from a driver of his caliber and masculinity. Um, yeah, you would have expected him to be a massive mover and shaker. Likewise with Grosjean, but the pair of them haven't really seemed to recover too much from their challenging qualifying positions. Both of them, the pair down in P13 and 14 respectively, Newgarden and Grosjean. Alex Palou, 8.3 seconds of fresh air between him and Dixon, the greatest man to ever walk the earth. 8 to go. Bring her home, MA. Great effort today. Bring her home. Any more positions than this is just good luck. We'll take a P9 from a P18 start. This is a very good drive. I'm very pleased as it stands right now. As both of the McLarens now find themselves backed up behind Pedersen. Pedersen, by the way, who has been cleared by Marcus Armstrong. So with a nice buffer behind now. That was the musical tune from a milk advertisement in 2005 there in New Zealand. They did this milk campaign where all of the different provincial Super Rugby teams had various stickers on the caps of the milk bottles, and all the players were on the TV ads, and then everyone went out and bought the milk that their particular rugby team had a sticker on. You didn't ask for the information, but I had it in my brain, and I thought I may as well get it out as we return to the action on board Grosjean with 7 laps to go. So, Bell's 92, remembering that ad. Great to see we've got some people of wisdom and culture in the chat. Not saying any of you aren't, but just good to see it confirmed. 10% battery to go. Low power mode on. I think we should be fine. We don't need to do any fuel saving through to the end on the iPad. We should be good. As it's still Grosjean stalking the back of Newgarden, as he has been doing for quite some time now, but no progress made. 6 to go, as we just said. Yeah, boy, Armstrong running it up in P9. And the number 11 green machine. Ridgeline green machine. Get the sponsor in there, Joe. As we're back on board with Joseph Newgarden. Looking at the back of Di Francesco, who's put in a good stint this afternoon. Has to be said, running up into the 12th spot. Challenging start to the year for him, but top bloke apparently. I've actually not met him, but he's quite good mates with Ilott and Marcus to an extent as well. And even Clem, I think, too. So a lot of mutual friends. Never met the bloke, but apparently an absolute ripper of a guy. I'm sure we'll cross paths eventually. Maybe in Nashville. I'll be out there, giving it big ones. As we see, the McLaren's trying to get through on Pedersen now. The most hated man in IndyCar. And so this is for position. Rosenquist, who's a lap down. Jesus, what a topsy-turvy day in IndyCar. As per usual. 5 to go. 9 seconds of fresh air between Palou and Dixon. The greatest man in the universe. Probably the greatest human in the universe. Organism. Yep, as we're still seeing this battle raging on, but absolutely no changes of position. Who is leading? Palou is leading. So that's hardly breaking news. Armstrong with a nice 7-second gap to Rossi. Just in a nice bit of space of his own. 4 laps. Keep it on the fucking tarmac spaghetti, mate, and you'll be grouse. 18 seconds of push to pass remaining. Palou also has, bar McLaughlin and Rossi, the most amount of push to pass remaining, as Newgarden puts a rude move on Di Francesco. And now Grosjean's going to have a massive go at it, and they're banging wheels and doors and all sorts going through the final corner there. 3 wide across the stripe. The Ed Carpenter car in the background fancies a bit of it, but thinks better of in the end. Audacious from Grosjean, and I don't know how Andretti's going to feel about that. Oh! And it's all going on again. Rinus van Klautenthal getting into the side of Di Francesco. And now Eilot's on the scene. And yes, that is the proper way to pronounce his name. 5% battery remaining. Maybe the race is on here between the battery and the end of the IndyCar race. It's always that last 5 that goes the quickest, but it's the last one that hangs on the most. So I'll keep you up to date on that battle as we see Eilot hanging the ass out the back of his JHR racing car. That rhymes. Trying to get by, I believe it's... No, it's not Di Francesco. Is it? Is it? I think it is. Anyway, he's not done it. Still 5% remaining on the iPad, but still 3 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. And we're still... Oh, no, we're getting a replay here now of Kirkwood and Grosjean. Not Kirkwood and Grosjean, Di Francesco and Grosjean. God. Oh! That was getting fucking hairy down into turn 1. And then look at this again. Kirkwood tries to go to the outside. I don't think Rinus knew he was there. And Grosjean's just gone around the outside of Di Francesco. So after about 10 laps of stalemate, a wild reshuffling of positions there just outside the top 10. So as they run with 2 to go now, and still 5% battery on the iPad, I think we could be home and hosed. With 2 to go, it's Palou, Dixon, Power, Lundgaard, McLaughlin, your top 5. Then it's Malukas P6, Rahal 7th, O'Ward and Armstrong in 8th and 9th. The hard charges today. Rossi P10 looks to have that relatively well covered off. And I can't see the rest of the field because IndyCar's doing a graphic thing again. And here we are. It's Herder, Newgarden, Grosjean, Di Francesco, VK to P15 as Palou receives the white flag with a 5.8 second margin to the greatest human to ever walk the earth. I think he's going to get it done today yet again here, folks. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if it's a question at this stage who's going to stop this man. I think we know the answer. It's nobody. VK looking for an invite around the outside of Di Francesco. No siree, Bob. And now the fight ignites again. Eilot looking to improve his position in the final stages of the race here and does so. Sneaks by Kirkwood. Keeps the foot down and absolutely catches the man napping. Great move from Callum Eilot for P16. And as we see Palou rounding the final corner now. And now Palou's taken the flag, and it's Dixon who crosses the line in second. Mr. Mid-Ohio himself. And now a fight that I'm quite interested in, genuinely. Palou was just behind Connor Daly, who was just behind Ryan Hunter-Reay when he crossed the line. So they're still out there racing right now. And Daly was only less than a second behind him, I think. And I think we'd all love to see him get that spot. No shade to Hunter-Reay, of course, but you know, as we're still awaiting even the rest of the top 6 to get to the line here, I think. And Rossi crosses the line, which must mean that Armstrong's crossed the line as well. And that's P9 in the bag, ladies and gentlemen. That's a great race from Marcus Armstrong. He's given me something to be pleased about this weekend, which is not something I say all the time. That's a fucking great drive from Marcus Armstrong. Just saying. Again, I know I'm probably a bit biased, but really, really solid performance. He should be pleased as punch with that. So some great drives from deep outside the top 10 from my colleagues this weekend. Clem being denied of that result on paper, of course, but the effort still remains the same. No one's taken that away. And Armstrong from 18th up to 9th. Courtesy of some great strategy by the Ganassi boys, must be said. But he's made a couple of nice moves on track. Been patient, and it's all paid off. Grouse. As we've still got 5% remaining on the iPad. I told you Steve Jobs is on the piss. As we see the crowd, deck chairs and all. That's another thing I quite like, is the deck chair culture. Good deck, actually underrated. A comfortable deck chair is divine. Those sort of circular ones you get in the sort of camping shops and things, those are delightfully comfortable. Spend a lot of times cradled up in one of those, waiting in between go-kart races through my childhood. Usually talking some kind of shit with Mr. Armstrong himself, actually. Watching the mechanics do all the hard work, the backbones, while he and I just lounged around like a couple of princesses. As a Pelot pulling into Victory Lane, which looks somewhat like the set of Camp Rock, it must be said. It looks like they're about to give him some kind of prize for, fish of the day, or like they're about to go water skiing. This doesn't look like a Victory Lane. I quite like it. It's backbone. It's very like just a bit of wood, bit of the old wood decking there. Get a bit of stainer on that for next year. That'll look first class. It's very Ohio, apparently. One of the comments coming through, and I couldn't agree more. Rustic, yeah, rustic. As Pelot climbs out of the car for a familiar feeling. Gets the salute from the 5-stone Firehawk. That guy's a total backbone. If it is a guy, I don't know. I love the Firehawk. Underrated, the Firehawk. The true backbone of IndyCar. it's so American, and I just love it. It's got a helmet with flames on it. And if you know anything about my collection of Converses, you'll know why I love that. As Pelot handing out handshakes to the team, and quite right. I mean, those backbones have seriously given him a package this year. But it's just lights out, good night. Alex Pelot, every single IndyCar race, it seems. If he'd won, if he'd won the 500, and he could well have done, some say he probably should have done, as there's still 5% remaining on the iPad. He looks, even his skin looks really clear. I wonder what his skin regime is. I really need to get a skin regime. Um, Maybe that's something that we could go through. We are due to film a couple of podcasts this week. Word on the street is that a certain Chip Ganassi racing driver might make it out to Silverstone. Word on the street. So you're due to film a couple of podcasts this week, and I will text Marcus. First of all, I'll say well done, but second of all, I'll say, look, can you get in touch with Pelot and ask him about his skincare routine because he's glowing. And he's just done 80 laps around a really physical racetrack. He hasn't even got those weird, like, radio wire marks on his face that they usually have when they get out of the car. I mean, he looks fit to jump on the poster of a Ralph Lauren ad. Hot. Not a blemish. There you go. Words from Alex Palou there. With skin almost as impressive as his drive. Yeah, whatever he's doing, I'm copying it because it's working. There's the team posing there for a few more photographs, and why not? Celebrate the good times. Yeah, good. Yeah, comments on the brow bone from Polo. Really nice feature on him, actually. And actually, I spoke about it, I believe, during the qualifying stream. Apparently, Polo's dad is like super hot. But I haven't actually seen a photo, but I've heard that Polo's dad's like totally hot. Well, they're going to go to an ad break here on the IndyCar stream now. Still 5% remaining on the iPad. But I think I might call it a day there, folks. Call it a race and call it a weekend. So thank you very much for riding on board once again. Appreciate you, your backbones. Just get a finger gun there. Um, those of you, obviously, I probably won't be streaming the races next weekend at Silverstone. I will be there. We might do a couple of Instagram lives or whatever, but you'll have to survive without me on those ones. But if you're out there, say good day, yell something offensive at me, and I'll probably turn around. Um, yeah, if you're not out there, enjoy the racing. Sorry that you won't have any good commentary. But yeah, no, thanks again for tuning in all weekend. If you have been, your backbones, your legends, your grouse old bastards. Um, that's another stream. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good week.